Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're climbing the wildest financial ladder in the entire hospitality industry. We are diving into exactly what happens when you take a standard travel budget and multiply it by 1 million. Have you ever wondered what the actual tangible difference is between the absolute cheapest place you can lay your head and the most staggeringly expensive accommodation on the planet? Well, we are breaking down a fascinating social and economic experiment that does exactly that.
So what actually happens when your budget explodes like that? We'll explore the absolutely shocking differences between dropping a single dollar and dropping a cool million on just one night's stay. We're looking at an incredible journey that really tests the limits of what money can buy. Does multiplying your budget by 1 million guarantee 1 million times better sleep? Or, does it just buy you an entirely different reality?
To really grasp this, think about the stark contrast we're looking at today. On one extreme, you have someone literally sleeping on a public floor for one single dollar. On the other end, a guest commanding an entire exclusive fortress, complete with private drone shows lighting up the night sky. The gap between these two experiences is almost impossible to comprehend until we break it down step by step. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, $1 to $1,000 nights.
Okay, so for just one single dollar, literally, if you reach into your pocket and pull out a single Washington right now, you can rent a sleeping mat in an Indian hallway. This is the absolute ultimate baseline for shelter on the open market.
And for that $1, you get basic shelter, minus, absolutely any comfort whatsoever. Room service? Completely non-existent. And the reality of this setup means that other people are literally stepping right over you in the middle of the night. No walls, no doors, zero privacy. It's essentially just a horizontal surface to exist on until the morning.
But what if we take that $1 investment and multiply it by 1,000? Jumping 1,000-fold in price takes us up to our next tier, $1,000 a night. For this price tag, things shift drastically. You go from a public hallway to traveling 200 feet below ground into a private rented cave.
Now, having an entire underground cavern to yourself is for sure a huge upgrade in privacy. But this $1,000 cave is highly unconventional. It actually comes with stained beds, zero Wi-Fi, and a super spooky atmosphere that feels remarkably like walking into a horror movie. There's even a random keyboard just sitting right next to the bed. It really proves that at $1,000, sometimes you're paying way more for a bizarre novelty than for pristine, flawless luxury.
Let's keep climbing. Section 2, $10,000 to $50,000.
Right. So at $10,000 a night, you unlock an incredibly lavish underwater palace. This is the exact point where hospitality stops being just about finding a place to sleep and transforms into experiencing a massive architectural feat.
At this price point, you aren't just getting 3 massive bedrooms and outdoor ocean tubs. Oh no, you're getting an entire private dock with an infinity pool, unlimited food from a personal chef, and even water jetpacks. But the real kicker, the reason this costs 10 grand, is that you are paying to sleep and shower in a specialized room that is entirely submerged at the bottom of the ocean, completely surrounded by live marine life.
The sheer novelty of this underwater base completely transforms the entire vibe of the trip. As one guest actually put it, I feel like an evil villain contemplating world domination in my underwater base. And honestly, that makes total sense. The environment is so uniquely constructed that it makes you feel like a cinematic supervillain. You're no longer a tourist. You're literally the main character in an action movie.
Now, bumping the budget up to $50,000 secures something almost unfathomable. We're talking 14 private islands, 12 houses, 5 swimming pools, and an incredible 110 staff members whose sole job is to wait on a tiny group of 3 people. And to make the contrast even crazier, during this part of the experiment, some of the group were actually pranked into staying in a $50, sweltering, broken-down bus with just one bed, a busted AC, and a massive swarm of mosquitoes. It's a perfect, real-time example of how drastically different travel can be based purely on the budget.
Moving right along to Section 3, Cruise Ships and Vegas Suites.
$75,000. In most parts of the world, that is a very solid annual salary. But in extreme luxury hospitality, that amount buys you exactly 1 private hour. Yes, just 1 hour on a massive $500 million cruise ship. Because the ship itself is so monumentally expensive, tens of thousands of dollars only rents you a tiny 60-minute window of complete exclusivity on a vessel that normally holds thousands of people.
If we double that price to $150,000 a night, you get a sprawling Las Vegas package that's split into 3 distinct, hyper-themed rooms. You've got a basketball room with a private indoor court and personal butler, and a bowling room with its own literal private alley and bunk beds. But the medicine room, that's where the economics get truly wild. It houses a $16 million art collection, including a $3.5 million pill cabinet artwork. And get this, guests were explicitly warned not to touch it or security would come running. It's this weird paradox where extreme luxury actually creates anxiety because everything around you is so immensely valuable.
All right, here we go. Section 4, the $1 Million Castle.
This is it, the absolute peak. $1 million for a single night buys you an entire private castle holding an ultra-rare 6-diamond star rating. This is a level of prestige that totally blows past the standard 5-star rating we all know, pushing into a bespoke category of hospitality designed exclusively for the ultra-wealthy.
The escalation of service here is just insane. The moment you arrive, you're greeted by an army of personal butlers lined up just for you. Thirsty? Your drinks are served by literal breakdancing robot milkshake makers. I am not making that up. For transport, you have access to a fleet of supercars, allowing you to do something as wonderfully absurd as driving a $300,000 McLaren to a local McDonald's. And to cap it all off, the night culminates in a massive, private drone and fireworks grand finale, where a briefcase full of money is literally dropped from the sky. It is pure, unfiltered spectacle.
So, that brings us to Section 5. Is the luxury worth it?
When reviewing the entire journey at the end of the trip, the group's preferences were actually completely split. The $1 Million Castle didn't unanimously win. Actually, scratch that, it wasn't even the top choice for lodging. The $50,000 private island won for best overall hotel experience because of its peacefulness and dedicated staff. Meanwhile, the $150,000 Vegas suite was singled out for having the best food. It turns out that once you pass a certain financial threshold, personal preference totally outweighs the sheer dollar amount spent.
As one guest perfectly summarized during the castle's drone show, I don't even know what to think. Rich people are crazy. And they kind of hit the nail on the head. The sheer scale of the amenities at the top end of this ladder entirely defies normal comprehension. It completely stops being about a comfortable bed or a nice meal and becomes this wild exercise in boundary-pushing entertainment and excess.
Which brings us to a final, provocative thought about the true value of money when it comes to extreme hospitality. Does more money always mean a better time? Well, as we just saw, the most expensive option wasn't universally the favorite. It really makes you wonder, is there a hard cap on the value of human comfort? Does there come a point where vast sums of money just end up buying bizarre novelty and breakdancing robots instead of actual measurable relaxation? It's a fascinating look at the economics of extreme travel and a pretty solid reminder that sometimes the peace of a private island easily beats the sheer, overwhelming spectacle of $1 million castle.